So I think I am long overdue for giving you an updated video on growth hormone. And this is one of those PEDs that, I'm a big fan of, but it's very specific to one, my goals. I don't want to incur virilization. I'm um, very aware of, hey, I'm not going to get on stage. So there really isn't a lot of purpose right now in having an anabolic in place outside of TRT. You can't get prescribed growth hormone because that is an off-label use. Insurance won't cover it, and it's one of those things also, like, it's so hard for them to source. Like, it's very, very unlikely you are going to even be offered that as a part of a potential option. Now, alternatively, what you'll likely run into is a clinic offering you like ipamorelin, sermorelin, and you can certainly go with these other options, but frankly, we don't have a lot of evidence to even support that they're as effective. Now, when you compare the cost of GH to other peptides like ipamorelin, what you're going to find is that you can find good GH, truly GH, for $200 for 100 IUs. Whereas when you look at these clinics and you look at how much they're charging for something that is not as good, and frankly, it's not tested, so the quality is still questionable, where you can find good GH, truly GH, for $200 for 100 IUs. Whereas what I've seen on some of these invoices from clinics, gosh, you're gonna find is that they're charging almost double that for roughly a month's supply. Especially when we're talking about men using it, you're gonna blow through that very, very quickly. It is by far the most expensive PED, and even though it makes itself very favorable because it's a non-androgenic PED, so for female athletes, it's something that you can take without the potential risk of virilization. I also don't feel really comfortable recommending people spend that much on a supplement when, frankly, like, I'm not coaching them. I have no idea if it's actually worth the cost. Yeah, it's something that for sure will help. Growth hormone's primary benefit is going to be to help facilitate fat loss. It's going to help keep you leaner in your off season. It's going to help increase the rate of fat loss when you're in contest prep, or, I guess I really shouldn't word it like that because it's not like it won't work if you're not getting ready for a show. It'll help you lose body fat. Yes, it does other things. It increases protein synthesis, it increases collagen synthesis, and these are all benefits that I think are significant, but the caveat is growth hormone is very hard to source. A lot of people, a lot of UGL will be fake. And I can tell you, if you are not paying quite a bit of money for it, it's probably fake. So as much as you want to think, okay, well, my guy can get it for, X amount and he's going to cut me a really good deal, I would just be wary. I would just go into that knowing that, like, hey, if you are not paying industry standard, then it's probably not real. Duration of use is really going to be cost prohibited. And I can say, if I only had a certain amount of money to put towards PEDs, this would be something that I would really want to weigh out carefully before just deciding it's going to be in a constant part of my PED cycle. Now, because where I'm at right now, I'm not using any other PEDs outside of TRT, I feel like the cost is justified. And frankly, even if I was using other fat loss agents, I would still really try to find a way to work it in. But for the female athlete, you're looking at maybe one to two IUs a day. It's going to be taken AM fasted. This in itself will help you maintain a leaner body composition. Globally, the primary use of growth hormone for the female athlete is going to be fat loss. Now, for men, you get the added benefit. If you have TRT in place, well, you could accrue new tissue as well. And this is something that I've seen anecdotally in others where they have added it in and, for one reason or another, seems like their lean body mass is going up despite not being in a surplus. But honestly, like, to what degree? We're not talking like 10, 15 pounds. In both men that I've seen or I've spoken with about this, they are trained athletes who have been training for a considerable amount of time, and they found with the introduction of GH when starting their fat loss phase that they did notice an increase. Now, how do you quantify that? it's hard to quantify muscle gain. One of them was a competitor, or is a competitor, and he actually reported that his stage weight went up considerably, like 4 pounds. And for someone who's been training such a long time, I mean, he was pretty blown away. He's like, this is my first time ever using GH. I've used other anabolics, and I found that my stage weight was significantly more, which 4 pounds for someone who's advanced is significant. But I think, for one, it's important, male or female, to adjust your expectations accordingly. So, I mean, when I used growth hormone for the first time, I was like, well, if it helps with fat loss, like, then it meets my expectations as long as I don't expect it to outwork non-adherence. The reality is, if you are not in deficit, GH isn't going to do a lot for you. It's going to help mobilize fatty acid, but honestly, you still have to burn it. And its fat loss capabilities are maxed out at around like 1 to 2 IUs. Now, when we're looking at the off season, timing isn't a huge concern because really its limitations are going to be to blood glucose control. And what I would really consider is that like good GH, like actual GH, can be found UGL for like 200 per 100 IUs. So for a female, that's gonna get you pretty far. It's gonna last a while. For a male, I mean, still, even that's not terrible depending on how much you're taking.